My name is Emily Carmichael, and the night this happened was November 13th, 2017. I was driving home late from work, just like any other night, the streets slick with rain and my mind clouded with exhaustion and stress from the day. I was a school nurse, always caring for others, always tired but pushing through. The drive wasn't long, but somehow that night everything felt different. Heavier, darker. I remember turning a sharp corner when suddenly another car came out of nowhere, smashing into me head-on. The world spun wildly, metal crushed, glass shattered all around me, and then, everything went black. At first, it felt like drifting, floating out of my body but not in pain, just detached and oddly calm. And then I saw him. Jesus. I didn't expect the light to be so gentle, not blinding like I'd heard about, but warm and comforting, like a hand reaching out to me in the midst of chaos. His eyes held such kindness and sorrow, like he understood every pain I ever carried. And he spoke, not with loud thunder, but quietly, with a voice that shook my soul, telling me about a sin so widespread, so dangerous, that it drags millions of souls to hell every single hour. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It wasn't murder or theft or anything I'd been taught in Sunday school as the biggest sins. No, it was something more subtle, something most people ignore. The sin of rejecting love, of turning away from God's grace and forgiveness, even when it's offered freely. Millions refuse to accept this gift every hour, sealing their own fate, and it broke my heart to know that so many could be lost simply because they didn't believe or didn't care enough to say yes to Jesus. That moment felt eternal, standing there in his presence, knowing the truth that changes everything. When I finally opened my eyes again, I was back in the wrecked car, sirens blaring somewhere in the distance. I was alive, but forever changed. I was scared to tell anyone what I'd seen or heard. Who would believe me? My family, my friends, even my church seemed distant after that night because I carried a secret too heavy to share. But it haunted me every day. The vision of Jesus, the weight of that message about sin, and the urgency to warn others before it was too late. I started praying like never before, begging God to help me live differently, to show his love more clearly through me, because I realized that the worst sin isn't just what you do, but what you refuse to accept. I became a different person. Softer, more patient, more desperate to reach anyone who would listen. Every time I hear about someone turning their back on God, I remember Jesus' words from that night. How the world is losing souls by the millions because of this sin. It's a terrifying thought but also a call to action that I can't ignore. I want you to understand something deeply. When you reject God's love, when you live your life as if you don't need him, you're not just missing out on blessings. You're walking toward a darkness that can swallow you whole. That night, Jesus showed me what hell truly is. Not some distant place with fire and brimstone, but a place of utter loneliness, regret, and separation from everything good. And the saddest part is that so many choose it themselves, not knowing or caring about the consequences because they're distracted, busy, or hardened by pain and doubt. I saw faces, millions of them, drifting farther away, some even close to me in life, people I cared about who chose to walk away from the light. I begged him to show me if there was hope for them, and he said yes, but only if they turn back, only if they accept his love while there's still time. That's why I share this now, because I don't want you to wait until a tragedy or a near-death moment to realize what really matters. The truth is right here, right now. God's love is waiting, and it's the only thing powerful enough to save us from the sin that steals millions every hour. I can still feel the weight of that night every day. The crushing silence of the accident, the soft glow of Jesus' presence, and the urgency in his voice to warn others. I'm not perfect, and sometimes the fear creeps back in, wondering if I'm doing enough to reach those around me. But this experience changed me forever, and I know it can change you too if you open your heart. Don't wait for a near-death moment to realize how precious your soul is. Don't ignore the greatest sin that's quietly sending millions to hell every hour. The sin of turning away from God's grace, of rejecting the love he died to give you. If you hear nothing else from me today, please know this. Jesus is here, he loves you, and he's calling you to come home before it's too late. The moments after the accident are blurry, like watching a broken film reel. but some parts are crystal clear. When I came to, the pain was unbearable, but more than that, I felt an overwhelming sense of sorrow. Not just for myself but for everyone in the world who walks blindly toward destruction. I remember struggling to breathe, trapped inside the crushed metal of my car, and yet my mind was elsewhere, still caught in that otherworldly place where Jesus spoke to me. He told me that the sin sending millions to hell wasn't the one we often fear or preach about loudly. It was the quiet refusal to accept his love, the cold dismissal of grace, and the hardened heart that chooses pride over humility. He explained that this sin is invisible to most, wrapped up in excuses, distractions, and the busyness of life, but it is the most deadly of all. Hearing that truth shook me to my core because I realized how many people I knew, even people in my own church, who might be lost without even knowing it. That knowledge felt like a fire inside me, burning away any doubts I had left, pushing me to speak out no matter how scared I was. The vision didn't end there. Jesus showed me glimpses of what that rejection looks like in real life. People turning their backs on hope because of bitterness, pain, or stubbornness. I saw families torn apart, friendships shattered, and souls wandering through life without purpose because they refused the simple gift of love he offers. I saw people trying to fill the emptiness with things that don't satisfy. Money, power, addictions, but nothing could fill the void left by rejecting God. It was heartbreaking to witness, but what hurt most was knowing that this suffering isn't a punishment from some angry God, but a natural consequence of choosing to separate yourself from the source of all love and life. Jesus' face was full of compassion as he told me this, reminding me that he's not here to condemn but to save, and that every soul is precious to him. Yet, the choice is ours, and many make the wrong one every hour, slipping further away without even realizing the stakes. When I finally woke up in the hospital, surrounded by machines and worried faces, I was a changed person. The doctors told me I was lucky to be alive, but I felt like I had been given a second chance for a much bigger purpose. I struggled to explain what happened because it sounded unbelievable, and honestly, I wasn't sure if I should even try. But the weight of that night stayed with me. The image of Jesus' eyes, the urgency of his words, and the overwhelming love he showed me. I began to see my life differently, noticing how easy it is to ignore God when things are normal, and how dangerous that complacency really is. I started reading the Bible with new eyes, praying like never before, and trying to reach out to those who might be walking the same dangerous path I had seen in that vision. I realized that this sin of rejecting love is not just an abstract idea. It's real, and it's killing souls by the millions. And because of that, I made a promise to myself. I would never stay silent again. Sharing this story is hard because it exposes a truth many want to ignore. But I believe it's necessary, because if just one person hears this and chooses to open their heart to Jesus, then it's worth it. I want people to know that no matter what mistakes you've made, no matter how far you feel from God, his love is still waiting. It's patient, it's relentless, and it never runs out. But it must be accepted. I've learned that walking away from that love is the greatest tragedy of all. A sin so powerful it sends more souls to hell every hour than any other. That's why I live every day with a renewed purpose, telling this story, warning others, and praying that God's mercy will reach those who need it most. I'm not a preacher or a saint. I'm just someone who got a glimpse of the truth in the darkest moment of my life, and now I can't keep it to myself. The choice is yours, but don't wait. Don't wait until it's too late to accept the love Jesus offers freely. I hope that by hearing my story, you understand the urgency behind it. I want you to think about your own life. Are you living with an open heart, ready to accept God's grace, or are you closing yourself off without even realizing it? That's the sin that's silently destroying millions of souls, and it's happening right now, as you listen to me. But here's the good news. It's never too late to say yes to Jesus. He's waiting for you, with open arms, ready to forgive, heal, and transform your life. Don't let pride, fear, or doubt keep you from the greatest gift you'll ever receive. Remember my name, Emily Carmichael, and the night I nearly died but was given a message to share with the world. I pray that this story touches your heart, because it might just save your soul. If you're ready to accept that love today, Don't hesitate. Reach out to him, because he's reaching out to you right now. That night, after waking up in the hospital bed, I was haunted not just by the physical pain but by the weight of the message Jesus had given me. I remember lying there staring at the white ceiling, the beeping machines blending into a dull background hum, but my mind was elsewhere, trapped in the light and love I had seen moments before. The hardest part wasn't the crash or the fear of dying. It was knowing the truth about the sin that's silently dragging millions to hell every hour, and realizing that so many people I knew might already be walking that path without knowing it. I thought about my family, my coworkers, my friends, and even myself before that night. How many of us had ignored God's love? How many times had I personally pushed him aside, thinking I had time, thinking it wasn't urgent? That thought crushed me. Jesus' words weren't just warnings. They were a plea for people to wake up before it's too late. I understood then that living without accepting his love isn't just missing out on blessings. It's sealing a fate far worse than anything I'd imagined. Days turned into weeks, and as I healed physically, I began to heal spiritually. The hospital stay was long, but it gave me time to reflect on everything. I started to see how easy it is to reject God's grace without realizing it, how subtle the sin really is. It's not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it's quiet and sneaky. It's the pride that says, I can do this on my own, the bitterness that refuses to forgive, the apathy that chooses comfort over truth. Jesus showed me that these small acts of rejection pile up like chains, slowly pulling souls away from the light. I realized that millions of people live their whole lives wrapped in this sin, thinking they're okay, thinking God is distant or irrelevant, but they're actually closing the door on the only thing that can save them. And every hour without fail, more people make this choice. More people refuse the gift of love and mercy, and that breaks my heart. I knew I had to tell others, even if it was scary, even if they didn't believe me. Because I had been given a message that might save lives. I struggled with fear and doubt, wondering if anyone would listen. But the memory of Jesus' face, filled with love and sadness, pushed me forward. I began sharing my story quietly at first, with close friends, at church, through prayers, hoping that someone would understand. And slowly, things started to change. People who heard the message began to open their hearts. I saw hope in their eyes, and it gave me strength. The experience taught me that God's love is not just for a chosen few. It's for everyone, but it requires a choice, a willing heart to accept it. I want you to know that no matter where you are right now, no matter how far you think you've drifted, God's arms are open wide for you. Rejecting that love is the greatest sin, the one so many don't see coming. It's the silent thief stealing souls in plain sight. But accepting it can change everything. It changed me. It saved me. Please, don't wait for a tragedy or a near-death moment to realize this truth. I am living proof that God's love is real, that his mercy is endless, and that the sin of rejection is the most dangerous enemy of all. If you feel even a small stirring in your heart right now, don't ignore it. Turn to him. Say yes. Let him in. Because millions of souls are lost every hour, not because of what they did, but because of what they refuse to accept, the greatest gift of all, God's love. This isn't just my story. It's a call for every person listening. Don't turn away. Choose life. Choose love. Choose Jesus. After that night, every part of my life shifted. I couldn't go back to the way things were before, pretending that faith was just a Sunday thing or something you do when life feels good. No, after seeing Jesus and hearing his message, my faith became real and raw. I remember struggling with the thought that so many people were walking around completely unaware that the biggest sin wasn't theft or lies or anger. It was rejecting the very love that could save their souls. It was this quiet turning away, this hardened heart that refused to bend. I realized this sin often hides behind excuses. I'm too busy, I'll believe later, I'm good enough on my own. But Jesus showed me that these excuses are lies that lead straight to destruction. The worst part is that millions fall for these lies every hour. It was as if he was telling me, "You must warn them, Emily. Tell them before it's too late." And I felt unworthy at first. Who was I to deliver such a message? But the love I experienced gave me strength. I had no choice but to obey. I started to notice things I never had before. In conversations, I'd hear people say things like, "I'm okay without church," or "I don't believe in God, but I try to be a good person." I'd think about how Jesus made it clear that being good isn't enough if your heart is closed to Him. It's the acceptance of His love, the humility to admit we need Him, that changes everything. I thought about how so many people hold on to pride like a shield, refusing to be vulnerable because they're afraid of being judged or hurt. But Jesus told me that He doesn't reject us for our doubts or mistakes. He's waiting patiently for us to turn to Him. I realized then that the sin sending millions to hell every hour isn't about the mistakes we make. It's about refusing the forgiveness and love He offers freely. This truth broke me because I knew so many people trapped in that darkness, living lives that looked normal on the outside but were empty and lost on the inside. I remember a moment not long after my accident, sitting alone in my room, tears streaming down my face as I prayed for the first time in a long time. I asked God to help me reach others, to use my story to wake people up. I wanted to scream from the rooftops about the danger of rejecting His love because I knew how easily we all get caught up in life's distractions, forgetting what really matters. I began reading the Bible with new eyes, finding verses I'd overlooked before that now hit me like a hammer. Verses about grace, mercy, judgment, and the urgency of repentance. I realized the clock is ticking for every soul, and many don't even realize it. The sin of rejecting God's love is a silent killer, robbing people of eternal life. And the thought that this could happen to people I care about, to strangers, even to myself before that night, it terrified me. But I also felt hope because I knew God's love is more powerful than any sin. He is waiting for you right now, with open arms. What I want you to understand is this: it's never too late. No matter what mistakes you've made, no matter how far you've strayed, God's love is reaching out to you. The choice is yours, to accept that love and be saved, or to reject it and face consequences beyond what we can imagine. I don't say this to scare you but to warn you with love, because I've seen both sides. I've felt the light of God's presence and the shadow of separation. I've lived to tell the story so that you don't have to learn it the hard way. If you feel something stirring inside you as you hear this, that's God calling you. Don't ignore it. Don't wait for a moment like mine to realize what's truly at stake. Open your heart to Him. Accept His love, His forgiveness, and His peace. It's the greatest gift you'll ever receive. I've shared this story with so many, and each time, I pray it reaches someone who desperately needs it. If you're watching this right now and feel lost, confused, or distant from God, know that He's closer than you think. You don't have to fix everything before you come to Him. Just come as you are. Say yes to His love. Because millions of souls are lost every hour. Not because of what they did, but because of what they refuse to accept. Don't let that be your story. Don't let pride, fear, or doubt keep you from the eternal peace and joy that comes from knowing Jesus. I'm Emily Carmichael, and this is my story. A story of death, light, love, and a warning that can save your soul. If you're ready to accept Jesus today, reach out to Him. He's waiting for you right now. Don't wait until it's too late. The days after I woke up in that hospital bed were filled with a mix of fear, hope, and a deep, overwhelming sense of purpose. I couldn't shake the image of Jesus, His eyes so full of love and sorrow, and the weight of the message He gave me. It stayed with me, haunting me, pushing me to do something with this second chance I'd been given. I remember looking out the hospital window, watching life continue outside as if nothing had happened, while inside I was forever changed. I realized then that so many people go through life blind to the truth, unaware of the spiritual battle raging just beneath the surface. Jesus told me about a sin so common, so easy to fall into, that millions of souls are lost every hour because of it. It's not the kind of sin that makes headlines or causes immediate pain, but it's the sin that shuts people off from the only love that can save them, the sin of rejecting God's love and grace. Before the accident, I never truly understood what it meant to reject God. I thought as long as I was good enough, I was safe. But Jesus showed me that it's not about perfection. It's about acceptance. It's about opening your heart and saying yes to Him. I saw so clearly how pride and denial blind people, how easy it is to push God aside, to live distracted by daily worries, ambitions or doubts, and forget the most important thing, our eternal soul. I remembered conversations with friends and family where I brushed off faith or acted indifferent because I didn't want to seem weak or naive. But now I see those moments as missed opportunities to accept the greatest gift ever offered. Jesus' words burned into my heart, "This sin sends millions to hell every hour," and I understood the urgency. It's not just a warning. It's a call to wake up and choose life. As I recovered physically, my heart was recovering spiritually. The pain in my body was nothing compared to the pain I felt for those lost souls, and I prayed every day for God to use me as His messenger. Sharing my story was scary at first. I was afraid people wouldn't believe me or that they'd judge me. But the love I'd experienced was too real to keep quiet. I began talking about it with close friends, with strangers who were willing to listen, and at church. The more I shared, the more I realized that many people are searching for hope, even if they don't know it yet. The sin of rejecting God's love is subtle, hidden in everyday choices. The moments we choose comfort over truth, pride over humility, doubt over faith. It's the silent thief stealing souls in plain sight, and it breaks God's heart every time. But there is hope, and that hope is Jesus. He is waiting for you right now, with open arms. I want you to know this, from the bottom of my heart. No matter where you are, no matter what you've done or how far you feel from God, His love is reaching for you. The sin that sends millions to hell every hour isn't a list of bad actions. It's the refusal to accept the love and grace He offers freely. I'm telling you this because I lived it. I walked away from death and came back with a message of love and urgency. If you feel that stirring inside you, that gentle nudge, don't ignore it. Don't wait for a moment of crisis like I had. Turn to Jesus now. Open your heart. Say yes. Let Him fill your life with peace and hope beyond anything you've known. Millions are lost every hour because they didn't say yes. Don't be one of them. Choose life. Choose love. Choose Jesus. If this story touched you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're ready to accept Jesus today, reach out to Him in prayer. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing. God's arms are open, and His love is waiting. Don't wait until it's too late.